Hello, guys. So today I will be reviewing with you and explaining section 2.1 of IB Business Management, Human Resources, so basically HR. So I'm going to start off by just showing you the objectives. These are in the IB syllabus because in IB it's very specific to just delve into exactly what you need to know in order not to really waste your time because in fact you really do have a lot of information that you should actually know. So you should know the role of HR, internal and external factors that actually influence HR, reasons for resistance to change in the workplace, and human resources strategies to reduce the resistance of change. To continue, so firstly, we're going to start with the first objective. What is HR? So we're going to actually explain human resource management. So basically, to define it, it's how an organization manages human resources, includes recruitment, meaning hiring employees, and retention, firing or letting go of employees, setting compensation and benefits, and specifying job responsibilities. Successful businesses are likely to have a clear framework for how to get the best from the human resources. HR management and planning are continuous process. Businesses strive to make sure their employees are in jobs for which they are properly trained for and probably suited, because we know that if these employees are in jobs that they are not trained for, jobs that do not fit their skill set, then a lot of problems in the business are going to arise, whether it's the quality of the product, whether it's the service that the business gives. Many problems can take place. At the same time, as part of HR planning, a business estimates its future HR needs, so basically the correct type and number of employees, because we do know that if they have a lack of employees, meaning a shortage of employees, then there's going to be an increase in costs. And if they have if they have too much employees, there's going to be an increase in cost. And if they have too little employees, and that's going to hurt productivity because they could be producing more, they could be selling more, but they just don't have enough employees. This framework for getting the most from from a business as a human resources is the process of HR. With large businesses, the first elements of HR process are written down because it's really large. It has to be sort of, managed between many people. It has to be communicated with people. It has to be planned with people because the operations are fairly large and are known as the HR plan. With smaller businesses, the HR plan might not have to be written down, but the director of HR, the owner of the small business, will decide HR issues and have a plan in mind. So basically, if it's a smaller business that's controlled, maybe it's like one restaurant run by a family business or whatnot, then they just have it, said verbally. They don't have to really write it down. So now these are external factors affecting HR. So firstly, the first external factor which really affects everything in this world is technological change. So now we know that there are some supermarkets, for example, that do not even have cashiers or any sort of employees. They're completely digital. For example, that's like an example of technological change, because what happens that so many cashiers, so many employees that previously worked in these supermarkets no longer do. Government regulations, so changes in government regulations or laws regarding health and safety issues can can affect the potential workforce. So this is like maximum working hours, contractual issues, equality in the workplace, pensions and benefits. So basically pensions and benefits is a big one because sometimes businesses can no longer afford hiring as many employees, which will decrease the amount of employees, that's decreasing the productivity, which is a big problem. Demographic change, which basically shifts in demographic factors such as birth rates, death, education levels, religion, ethnicity, and age. So basically, this can include mainly like the biggest problems are aging population, because a lot of work such as like construction working requires a lot of people which are younger, which can actually like physically endure the work, or reduce fertility rates. And this has to do with the birth rates eventually. Demographic change is actually a keyword you should know, so I think you should definitely memorize the definition. Or social trends, or the state of the economy. So we do know that when there's a like downturn in the economy or recession, this will have like the opposite effect of inflation, because what will happen, or like a good economic growth will have the like opposite effect of that, because what happened is that there's going to be a higher amount of unemployed workers. So these unemployed workers will accept lower wages because you know they need the jobs, because they probably already lost their jobs, or they're just really desperate for one. Or economic growth can actually cause a strain in the pool of labor available, because there's going to be a lot of job opportunities, so this will lead to an increase in wages. So basically, economic growth, increase in wages; recession or downturn in the economy is a decrease in wages. I don't know if you understood, because I think I kind of went fast with that, but basically just know that basically improvement in the economy, economic growth, the increase in wages, because there's going to be less employees available because there's a lot of jobs available. Um, and then if there's a recession, then there's going to be little jobs available. Many employees are going to lose their jobs. So employees eventually they're going to accept lower salaries. And then we have changes in education rates, whether it's higher, whether it's lower. This will affect the situation. Labor mobility, the ability of workers to move geographically, how easily workers can change their place or time of work, because we know the type of work, because we know that lately, especially with like trains and advanced technology, there's so many new ways of transportation. There's so many public transportation that are not very expensive and affordable for people. So this will definitely affect the like HR in general, because many people can end up getting jobs that suit them or jobs that are far from the workplace that give them higher salaries. So this really depends on the context, but again, this is the one of the keywords you should know. Immigration is basically new workers being available or change in skill set of new arrived workers. So we know that many countries around the world have many foreign workers, and foreign workers are like a lot of the time they have foreign skill sets, skill sets that are not familiar in that certain country. So this will also have a certain role in that as well. So yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else I can add, but this is it. Oh, and this is an image I added, but yeah, I didn't even show. So here we have internal factors affecting HR, because the other ones are all external. They're not within the control of the business. Internal are within the control of the business. That's the difference between external and internal. So basically, internal factors are changes in business organization. Businesses can change the way they are organized to better meet the strategic objectives of the business. So we did study strategic objectives in topic 1 and chapter 1. Also, the office can do so when a business is acquired or acquires another business. So basically, we also talked about like external growth types in the unit 1.5 in section 1.5. So basically, what happens is when like a business acquires another business, is that especially if it's a takeover, that's a very important point. Especially if it's a takeover, the cultures of the business may clash, because each like there's a business culture, there's dynamics that might not flow when these two businesses are together. So this is one of the things that takes place during a business organization, which can actually like really affect the internal way the business works, the business is organized. Changes in labor relations. So this is affected by union power. So basically, we have the labor union, which is in charge of actually making sure that the rights of employees are there and they're being fulfilled. And also, not only the rights of the employees, but also it will also fight for the employees to have higher salaries and more rights and whatnot. So the stronger the labor union is, the more rights the employees will eventually receive. Changes in business strategy is another internal factor. So basically, it's whether to respond to changes in circumstances in the market or business. Orienting itself changes in business strategy may lead to amendments in HR. So basically, if we want to change certain strategies, this may change the HR. Changes in business finance. This is another internal factor. The financial situation of a business will have a breaking on the HR. So basically just affect HR. The business that has limited resources, hence unable to pay the highest wages and salaries, will affect recruitment and retention. So like I'm saying, so if the business is unable to be competitive, unable to give really high salaries, what will happen is that the really highly skilled employees that can actually help the productivity of the business the most will be hired by other companies, which will negatively affect the business. Other factors that can have impact, such as unfunded pension liabilities or a significant increase in profitability. So unfunded pension liabilities, that's another big problem. Like I said, we talked about when the government like changes the pensions, they increase them or whatnot, or even decrease them sometimes. But in this case, if they just increase them, or the business is simply unable to pay them, this is a big problem for the business. And if they have an increase in profitability, this can also affect HR, because what happens is that they're able to actually hire more employees, so they're able to be more productive. Especially if they grow, they're going to need more employees. So keywords, we have like these are just keywords you should know. Flexi time, a flexible work schedule that allows workers to adjust their start and finishing times of their workday, giving them flexibility to meet other demands. This is usually a lot of the time they like for working moms, because they need to take care of their children and they also need to work. So this is like an example, but there's many other like people who also use flexi time. Gig economy is an economy where many positions are temporary and organizations hire independent workers for short commitments. For example, if the organization needs like specific action required, instead of hiring an employee and going through all of the contract and legal processes, they don't have to really do that. They can just hire a freelancer or independent worker, in other words, and that worker can just do the exact job the business wants them. They pay him a compensation for their job, and that's it. They don't have to really get into it. So that these are like the two key terms you should know. Then we have changes in work preferences. So you have four reasons. So first, a career break, if the employee wants to simply have a break for usually a year or more before they actually return to the break. Sometimes the employer even formalizes this, so they document it. Basically, formalization is basically documenting, and they let this employee take a break, and they let the employee take a break and come back. This is also known as sabbatical. Another thing is job share, basically when two or more employees decide to share a job in order to free up more time for other activities. A third reason will be like downshifting. So basically, an employee giving up senior position or highly paid employment in order to change career into different. So basically, the employee wants to change their career into different lower paid employment in order to change the area of interest. Let's say the employee was working like in like contracting, like I was talking. Maybe they want to change into the restaurant industry, so they may get a job that's like lower paying, but they just want to change into that area of interest, so they like start off with that job. Study leave is basically when the employee wants to like get a new qualification. An example is an MBA or just a master's or a PhD or whatnot. So now you have the impact of innovation, ethical considerations, and cultural differences. So you have innovation. A business committed to being innovative must recruit and retain the right people, since innovation comes from the people, of course. This can take place in marketing, or it can take place in like operations when they're producing a new good. It really depends. Ethical considerations. Businesses must be careful to act in an ethical manner. Because doing otherwise will destroy the business image. So many businesses actually especially with growing concerns of ethics, have faced many backlash, whether it's like from fast fashion, where their employees are not treated right, they're overworked, their hours of work are very long, or whether it's gender disparity in the workplace. But this is it's especially ethical considerations. It's a really relevant topic right now. Cultural differences. HR plans should include a varied cultural workforce to ensure success, especially if their markets are diverse as the workplace. So this is, of course, Hofstede, the cultural dimensions. Actually, Hofstede is a tool you should know. So especially if you're a HL student, you should know Hofstede. It can be used in your paper 317 marking. You can talk about it. And this is Hofstede. So you can talk about power distance, for example, the employees or different degrees of power, individualism versus collectivism, ascendancy versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term, indulgence versus restraint. So these are very important parts. And now reasons for resistance to change. So for many reasons, employees may resist to change in the workforce. So basically, change is not something they choose. Change is typically like forced on them by managers because of changes in internal or external environments. Whereas managers typically view change as desirable for the health of their organizations, workers are often threatened by change. So basically, workers, they're scared of change to a certain extent. And not all workers, but many workers may be, and it's a common problem for businesses. So reasons for the workers and employees who may resist change are discomfort, because they're often happy where they're at, so they don't really want to change their current situation. They're scared of change, simply, it's fear. Insufficient reward, so they feel like they might be doing more work and they're not getting a compensation for that, so they might not be satisfied, they might resent it or resist change. Lack of job skills, so sometimes this is like in economics we call it structural unemployment, but basically it's when these employees they're changing what they do, the process of their jobs, the skill they require, what they do on an everyday basis is changing, and they might not have the necessary skills, which will cause resistance, because it also causes fear and anxiety. Loss of control, when managers insist on change, employees feel that they don't have control over their lives. Mistrust, so employees also do not trust the managers at all times. It depends on the culture of the business, depends on the type of leadership, but again, this may be an issue in many businesses. Poor communications, so employees do not know why the business needs to change, so the employees suddenly they just find out that like their jobs are changing, their current lifestyle is changing, because again, a job takes up a big portion of the lifestyle. So this again is a problem. Poor timing, so sometimes whether it's a personal life, whether it's a career thing, employees may also resist this change because it's not the right time for them. Prior experience, so maybe an employee might have like a bad experience with a prior like change in a prior company, or maybe with another employer, or maybe with the same employer, so you never know. Social support, an employee who works with a group of people who resist change may choose to resist for the sake of maintaining social relationships. So basically, if the majority of employees don't want change, and that employee wouldn't mind personally, but if they see that their colleagues want the change, they just might resist them to keep their colleagues satisfied and they maintain their social relationships, or they just might convince them. So this is one of the things. So HR strategies to reduce the image of change. I mean the impact of change. Impact of change and resistance to it. So one, they can develop a vision, like the business, a plan. So one, they can develop a vision for a change process and the desired outcomes. If necessary, the business may have to realign its largest aim and vision for the organization. They have to forecast, allocate the necessary resources to implement the change. They have to ensure that step is very necessary. Involve the employees in change process from the outset so they're not surprised and they don't feel powerless. Exactly. This targets like a few of the problems because once employees are very shocked and they feel like they not have control because it's so sudden to them and they're not informed at all or they don't know why there should be change, this step especially will help. They have to train employees in advance so they don't lack the skill set to those changes that may directly affect them, which allow them to see the benefit of change immediately. So these employees won't fear that they don't have the skill set, so that they won't have a reason to resist it. So all of these steps and strategies, they actually reduce the employees' need to change. Routinely communicate the benefits of change, so they convince the employees basically, and be aware of the stress that change can cause and support employees as much as possible, so they actually feel like they have control over their life and they don't feel like they're actually doing more work before, after, and during the change. And basically, this is it. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. This is for section 2.1. Sorry for any of the background noises. It's a bit loud here. But thank you so much, guys. If you have any comments or like questions, please put on the comment section. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys.